Every situation where a person is being pressured to do something is an abusive situation. Today I'm sharing some signs of abuse in relationships. Some people will say it's a toxic relationship. Others will say the person is not being treated properly. But basically, abuse just means you are not being treated fairly. You are not being treated well. And even though I say examples of abuse in relationships, I do not want you to just limit it to marital relationships. Could be in the workplace, mother-child, father-child, between in-laws. It could be in the church. Everywhere that relationships, that people exist, there can be a form of abuse. So let's go right into it. Situation where a person is being pressured to do something is an abusive situation. Know that sometimes we do not even recognize that there is a force that is making us do what we want to do. There is some sort of manipulation, and this can happen even between women, not only between husband and wife. In a lot of social relationships, there can be something that forces a person to do something that they wouldn't have done if there wasn't that thing. So you have to identify the force that is in place. You have to identify the threat that is making you do these things. Let me give you an example. And you have to know that a force does not mean that maybe somebody is hitting you or there is a physical force. It can just be words. It can be attitude. It can be mind controlling. So you have to just realize that I'm being made to do this thing that I do not want to do. And the reason why I'm doing it is because of this that is more of a threat to me. For example, I want to go and buy some food and Chris says no. And then I start crying and I said, well, I wish that I was with my parents. I think I would think about going back to my parents. And because of these words, he decides that, well, you can go buy your food. There was some threat, there was some force that I used. Another example, which is really common in an African setting, is what we call the black tax. Now, children are raised with this notion that they have to come and take care of their parents, which is not a bad thing. I think it's a good thing to give back to your community, to your parents, to your sisters, your siblings. It's a good thing, but a child must be raised to give and not feel like if they don't do that, then they are not a child enough, that they are not doing the right thing, that they have failed. It must not, through words. Some parents will tell their children, oh, you know what, every time you were growing up, we pray that you grow up and buy us this. To the child, it might not seem like force, and to the parent, it might not seem like force, but this can go on to affect that child. They might feel like they have failed. This is a form of abuse. You might be in a toxic or abusive relationship or situation if someone you are dealing with always have a confrontational kind of attitude. Somebody that, when I remember back in school, we used to call that kind of person ready to fight. The person might not know it. The person might probably be going through some sort of anxiety, but it can make it very hard for you to be open to them or vulnerable, or even reach out to them concerning things they are doing to you. The truth is that a lot of people know that they are this way. They use that as a cover-up to get away with things that they want to do to their victim. So they will have this really strong face and hardcore kind of way of dealing with issues. So you are so afraid to even go with them because you are scared that they will shut you up. They will say bad things about you. So you have to realize that there is always a root cause of abuse. Sometimes these people, that's how they've been dealt with growing up. And that is why this topic is really close to my heart, because I have children. I am always careful, or it's something that I'm learning. I'm not perfect, that I will not raise them not being able to deal properly with emotional stuff. I want to raise them to have a good emotional intelligence. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. So and if you're in a relationship or in your marriage, your husband has this confrontational attitude, or your wife has this confrontational attitude where you can't even tell them when they are doing something wrong, because all of a sudden it will be you being the problem, and you feel like, okay, where did I go wrong? You are in an abusive relationship. You need to sort counseling. You need to speak to that spouse. If you know it's not gonna work, you have to reach out or try to get yourself out of the situation if it's getting to a point where it is affecting you. And that goes to my next point. If you're in a relationship where you always feel like your mental health is always, you are being triggered, you are always being pushed to the corner, you are always crying, your self-esteem is low, you go to bed really sad, that is a relationship where you need to get help and probably get out. When I say get out, I'm not saying you should divorce. You need separation. Sometimes separation is needed for the other spouse to come around. There is a proper way to separate from an abusive person. You don't have to be dramatic about it or announce it or trigger them. Remember, you do not know what is going on in this person's head. You don't want them to come and hurt you or plant something against you. I ask that you speak to a professional, or you seek professional counseling and know the best way to go about this. Also, if you're in a relationship where there is no trust there's lack of trust in you, some people will even give the excuse that, oh, I can't put my trust in a person. If you are in such a relationship, I am so sorry that you are in an abusive relationship, because there has to be some trust in you. There has to be trust in you because God trusts you with things, and this person has to trust that you have a purpose in their life, you have a purpose in this world, and they have to trust that even though you have failures, that you have something good, you have gold in you. If you're in a relationship where you always feel like you can't do anything, you are good for nothing, that is an abusive relationship. I'm not going to go into detail into that. So there has to be some trust. There has to be trust in you. The person has to be your encourager. The person has to be the one telling you, go for it. Of course, I'm not saying that if you're doing something wrong, they have to be supporting you, but you don't have to feel like you are good for nothing in your marriage. And I'm speaking more about marriage because of the Barbara incident, but this can be applied anywhere else in the work setting. If you are being made like you are good for nothing, somebody else is the best person, you are in an abusive, toxic workplace. And if you are in a relationship where there is always some kind of interrogation going on, it does not matter if this person says because they love you, that is a red flag. You need to put a boundary. You don't have to feel like you are in a police station being interrogated for the 9/11 incident. You have to feel like you want to open up to this person freely, comfortably, not like you are put on a spot and this person is the one always asking you questions and you have to answer them. What did you do with that? Why did you do this? They have to, like I said, it goes back to that trust part. They have to trust you with things, and you have to openly do account, for the sake of accountability in a relationship. You have to openly speak to them about stuff. You don't have to always be called into a room and then several questions are being asked of you. That is a red flag. If you are in a relationship whereby the person is always using words or statements that it's like requiring you to be loyal to them, like, you have to be loyal to me, once again, it shows that this person wants you to be really attached to them, some kind of codependency tendencies, which is really dangerous. I'm going to talk about codependency in another video. They want you to be loyal to them. Even in churches, I've seen churches that have a whole book just about loyalty to the church. You don't have to be loyal to any church. You have to be only loyal to Christ. You have to be a faithful servant. That is what I know, to Christ, not to church or any human being. The person is kind of, they will use things like, oh, don't talk to this person. Oh, they're going to tell everyone about your issues. Why did you tell them this? They're always trying to tell you that everybody else is not good. You have to speak to them alone. That is them some kind of alienating going on. All that are abuse tactics. They make you feel like this person is already doing other stuff, of course, and now they are telling you, you were not loyal doing this. Oh no, girl, forget those loyal stories. This is an abusive situation. This person is toxic, telling you that you can't speak to anyone. If you have a problem, you have to deal with it alone. Unfortunately, it is our culture. As I don't know about other culture, but growing up African, I know this is our culture where you have to keep stuff to yourself alone. That is a situation where abuse will thrive like nobody's business. At least there should be one person you can talk to when things are going tough. One person. So this person cannot tell you that you're not being loyal if you speak, especially if they are maltreating you and then they tell you about loyalty. And they do this in churches a lot. I know a lot of churches that do that. That is, I don't want to go into detail once again, but you get me. Anyone or any man or any relationship you are in that your partner tries to not be accountable to anyone, they try to stop you from talking to people who hold them accountable, that is a red flag. Girl, you are on that slope to trouble. If you don't sort it out, it's going to get a point where things will be out of hand. Always catch abuse at the beginning so that you can solve it. It's not every time that you have to leave when there's an abuse. Like I said, abuse just means somebody is treating you improperly. Sometimes boundaries has to be put in place. Sometimes things we've learned growing up has to be unlearned, and new things have to be learned. And if you are in a relationship, you are not yet married, I want you to look at your partner and see if they are the kind of person who will love to be going for counseling or therapy when there's a problem. Because I know for a fact, I've seen this across all the women groups that I've been in, that men generally do not like talking about issues. They do not like going for therapy or counseling. I do not know psychologically why, but some do try because they know that God wants them to be a good leader. So they try to go for that counseling. They try to read that book, and it actually changes them. It changes the relationship. So you have to be looking out for these, that your partner would want to go for therapy or counseling if there is an issue. And I think this video is becoming too long. I'm going to do another video. So the last one I'm going to end up with is a partner who doesn't take responsibility for their former actions. So he does something wrong, you go to bed or do some baby dance, you get together as a couple, and then that's it. He doesn't solve the problem, he doesn't apologize, he doesn't realize that, okay, this is what we should have done right. Even if you were also wrong, he avoids the whole situation because he doesn't want to realize that, he doesn't want to acknowledge his part of being wrong in the whole situation. That is a person who needs some counseling. Both of you might need some counseling on how to communicate or solve problems. So if you are in a relationship where your partner is always blaming you for everything, he never acknowledges that he's wrong, he ignores his past actions, that is a red flag. And also watch out for a partner that treats other people badly. That was one big sign for me actually during dating courtship. I have a soft heart for people who just treats people nicely. Like, they don't talk, they always try to put themselves in other people's shoes, like, oh, how maybe he was feeling like this, that's why he did. So look out for that, especially if you are dating or courting. Okay, look out for how it will always come out. Okay, they can't pretend forever. So I'm going to end this video here. Like I said, it doesn't mean that you have to leave. You just have to know that you are in an abusive relationship, that you can always put boundaries in place. There's something I'm going to talk about also in the future. And just so you know, I am going to start a different channel where I'm just going to be talking about relationships. I'm going to talk about abuse, family life, because I don't want to mix the family side of what I want to share with the recipe side of my health and all that. So this channel is just gonna be for health stuff, and then the other channel will be just for family. So please go and subscribe. Right now it doesn't have anything on there, it doesn't have much on there, but yeah, go and subscribe so you don't forget, and put on the notification icon if you want to. Okay, if you are trying to just reduce your social media interactions, it's okay, you don't have to subscribe. And the name is Everything Noble. That will be, it's the same name I use on Instagram. So Everything Noble is my other channel. Go and subscribe, and let's talk more about these kind of topics over there. Thank you for watching, and bye.